Okay, so we're finally going to move on past the gun stuff and the Parkland stuff a little bit. There's still one thing I want to talk about, and it's going to be the walkout. I'm going to talk about that, and then I'm going to move on to something that happened at my school that I feel like I have to talk about that has to do a little bit with free speech and stuff. And then I am going to talk about Trump is now how he is now open to meeting Kim Jong Un apparently, and possibly in North Korea. Let's see where this goes, and then also Trump last week had signed for the tariffs. We'll talk about that and more. Today is March 12th, 2018. My name is Jason Riley, and this is the Riley Report. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to start off talking about today is the walkout that, at least for locally in Indiana or schools around here, is supposed to happen Wednesday. My school is allowing students to walk out, and as long as they're not disruptive or doing anything they shouldn't be doing, walk out, come back in 17 minutes without facing any consequences. So I think that it's important to recognize that this is a walkout for making schools safe. It's not about how we get there, but making schools safe is what we're walking out for, because schools do need to be made safer for students, and we shouldn't be afraid to go to school, and just nothing really on the federal level has been done about this at all. And so that's why we're walking out. I plan to walk out for 17 minutes in full support of the NRA and in full support of my Second Amendment rights. And that's pretty much it. And I think that we need to do, if you want to do something, that's great. Do it. That's what we're doing. So now I'm going to move on a little bit to something that happened at my school that I feel like I should talk about. So story time. So my freshman year, I believe, there was this librarian at our school who was described by many as tyrannical and not very popular amongst students. And then when she retired, either halfway through my sophomore year or at the beginning of my sophomore year, I forget, the librarian from the middle school came to the high school. So, and everybody liked her when she came. She was really laid back. She turned the library from a tyrannical place to a haven for students, and it was really nice. And she got fired recently. So it originally came out that she let a student leave to go get gas, and that she was fired for that. But then we found out that there was something different. So I'm going to explain a statement that is said to be what she said. She said, okay, here's the real story. Last week, person X, I'm going to leave out names, who has a seat waiver, which a seat waiver is for students to basically leave school. But I heard that once they leave, they are not allowed to come back. I heard this from another teacher. Students with seat waivers are only allowed to leave and be gone. They're not allowed to come back. So there was a mistake there made by the teacher to letting this kid come back, you'll hear, who has a seat waiver, asked if she could leave to get a Coke. She asked me and another teacher if we wanted anything. I said tea, and he said a coffee. When she left, person Y went with her. When she got caught, she told admin I gave her permission. When I was questioned by admin, I said yes, I gave person X permission, but didn't even notice person Y leave. When the principal fired me yesterday, he said I had admitted to admin that I sent person Y to the gas station to get me a Coke. This is a lie. I would never send a student out of the building. Please look out. And then it said something else that I didn't understand, one sentence, but that was pretty much it. So I personally don't have an opinion on this, because I'm not going to make any statements about opinions or anything, because I feel like I don't know everything. So I would if I felt like I knew everything, but I really don't feel like I do, because if that's it, that's really crazy to be fired for. A lot of teachers, when I talked to them, said that there has to be more. There has to be stuff we don't know about. There's no way they fired her just for that, unless it was something that repeated over and over, especially when she made a claim. But knowing my school, and there are some people that do know a lot about me, so I'm just going to say that from personal experience, I wouldn't put it past my school administration to jump to prosecutions of somebody solely off another student's claim. That's all I'm going to say about that. I wouldn't put it past them at all based off personal experience. So I think there's got to be more, and that's all we know. So anyway, the next day after she was fired, before school, there was a large group of students that were chanting her name, that we want her with her name, or we need her. And they were tailgating outside the school, and they were chanting this, made a march in through our main hallway, and then down. They chanted this in the cafeteria, in the library, and outside the main office. So I did later find out that the deans of the school were just taking kid after kid, just grabbing kids, be like, ISS, you get ISS, you get ISS, we all get ISS. Okay, everybody gets ISS. And I'm like, wait a minute. Why? What did they do? I did not participate in that. I followed the group around, got a video of it, of them chanting, because I thought it was pretty funny. So, but I didn't participate. But they were actually just jumping for the main people who seem to be leading, which obviously they want when they're trying to shut it down. That's the most effective. But I don't think these kids should be punished. There's lots of reasons. So first, mainly because I had this conversation with another teacher, and they told me that it's because your freedom of speech goes away at the school door. But I was like, okay, because I believed him. He's a trustworthy guy, and I believed him for that at that point. And I'm like, okay, but this wasn't during school hours, and it wasn't really too much. I guess they were chanting, they're loud, but it wasn't disrupting education or anything. And so we kind of agreed to disagree there. There wasn't much to agree on. But when the school made a statement about the walkout and sent out an email about it, they had made a statement with regards to our freedom of speech in schools. And it says, quote, for those of you unfamiliar with the law applicable to students' free speech rights in schools, the U.S. Supreme Court case Tinker versus Des Moines established that students do not, quote, shed their constitutional right to freedom of speech or expression at the schoolhouse gate. So then this kind of made me go, wait a minute, but you're shutting down this protest that was completely peaceful, that wasn't even during school hours. So I don't know about you, but I think it's more disruptive to have kids at their own will just get up and leave class for 17 minutes in the middle of the day than to have people chanting before school hours. So this group wasn't violent, wasn't harassing anybody, wasn't insulting, wasn't vulgar, wasn't anything. They were just loud. That's the only thing you can do. So it really comes down to, were they disrupting the educational process? And I think the answer is no, because it was before school had started. No class was going on. And if you think this does, I guess I'm talking to the admin here, but if somebody thinks it does disrupt the educational process because it was before school hours, I would like you to point specifically where and who it disrupted from learning. Who did it stop learning? Who was disrupted from their learning? Because it was before school. Okay, so what rules exactly were they breaking? Point to me in the handbook. This is, like I said, I've said many times before, and I will say it again, constantly. One of my two biggest pet peeves in politics or policy or anything is inconsistency. The only time I think inconsistency or something close to inconsistency is acceptable is if somebody changes their opinion on it over time. But if, for example, somebody's going to say that the walkout is justified at my school, but those protests weren't, that's inconsistency. There's a difference between saying that and saying, you know what? I think differently now. Okay? Or if somebody goes, if there's a difference between saying, I think, I'm trying to think of an example, like going from X to Y over time versus saying X and Y at the same time, that are two completely different things, if that makes sense. Like, I can't think of an example. I'm really trying to. But I guess an example with politics about changing from X to Y that I would be okay with is going from thinking that all assault weapons and semi-automatic weapons should be banned to changing progressively to, I think that we shouldn't ban these guns. That's not inconsistent. That's just changing your opinion over time. It's inconsistent to say these things at the same time or with very short time in between, if that makes sense, I guess. And still trying to implement policies behind so that you've done before. So that's the kind of situation, and I'd really like to hear exactly people's thoughts on this. But it, like I said, we don't know everything. Nobody really knows everything except the administration and the teacher. And yeah, that's that. That's basically all I had to talk about that. I'm going to move on now. We are talking about Trump. Trump is what we're talking about the rest of the episode now. Trump is now open to a meeting with Kim Jong Un, possibly in North Korea, possibly in May. That's not that far away. I just rhymed. We're going to move on now. So Obama said a long time ago. So people on the left, I think, are like kind of looking down upon this. But you know what? Obama said he was going to meet with many leaders of evil regimes, and the left liked this. I didn't, obviously, I'm a high schooler. I didn't know much of what was going on at the time, but I'm thinking about it now, at least. I wouldn't agree with doing that. I wouldn't be like, I don't think he should have done that or said. And I don't think Trump should either, because we shouldn't, you know how you've seen all the movies about terrorists and stuff. You know, the movies say we don't negotiate with terrorists. We don't. We shouldn't. But this is an evil regime. We shouldn't negotiate with them. We shouldn't negotiate with nations like this. North Korea is basically a giant gulag, bro. And South Korea seems to be acting in favor of appeasement for North Korea. North Korea has prison camps, and Kim has been in the past very, very threatening on the world. He has been pretty intimidating to the world. He's threatened to nuke the U.S. and South Korea and do lots of damage and kill a lot of people. So I don't think it's a good idea to be talking to him like legitimately. We need to be firm with our relationship with them. So North Korea has said that they are not they have said that they don't like the U.S.'s presence in South Korea, and this, maybe that's because it just might be that because the U.S.'s military presence is basically preventing a continuation of the Korean War. I personally think that if the U.S.'s presence didn't exist in South Korea, there would be a continuation of the Korean War, because it would be so much easier for North Korea to just walk straight into South Korea, because the U.S. is such a major superpower militarily when talking about military. So it could get real ugly really quick without the U.S.'s military presence in South Korea, because they have. I'm not saying their military sucks, but compared to ours, it is not that great. Ours is really great. Okay, I sound like Trump right there. So is North Korea really on the verge of getting nukes? That's what kind of he said in favor. We would be like, okay, you can have a meeting with our president, but you can't be doing this nuke stuff. And then all he really has to do is be like, okay, I won't be doing these nukes. I don't know what I was doing right there, that I won't be doing these nukes. So that's pretty much all Kim has to say. He just has to be like, okay, I won't do these nukes until I have the meeting. And then right after the meeting, he can go straight back to doing nukes. So I don't think they're really on the verge of getting nukes based off historical facts. Several times before, North Korea has been like, okay, we might give up our nuclear program, and then not. So I think that they're just not being honest here. So what do Trump fans say? They think it's a huge win for Trump. They think Trump, it's cool. They're like, awesome, Trump's gonna have a meeting with North Korea, and Trump's so great he was able to do this. And then they're like, we're actually putting pressure on North Korea. No, we're really not. I don't think so. We're not doing that much against North Korea. It's not like Kim Jong Un isn't giving up anything. All he's doing is giving up how many months? Let's see, it's the middle of March, right? March, April, May. That's 2-3 months until the meeting, if it happens in May. He's giving up his nukes for 2 or 3 months at the most, and then he's gonna go right back to doing them. So it's not really like he's giving up anything. In fact, what Kim Jong Un will do is he'll be able to say to all his people, look, I am a superpower. I met with the American president and talked to him. We are important, and that's proof of it. So that's all. Kim Jong Un is gaining that from him. He's gaining the ability to say that to his people, that I am a superpower now, and it makes him feel like a big boy when he's able to do this. If that makes sense. So Trump fans think it's a win for Trump. I don't really think it's a thing for Trump. Are we giving up? So then, as we go to the question now, are we giving up anything? Maybe. time, resources, risk. I think we're giving up assurance. But mainly it's just time that we're giving up. I can't really think of what else we might be giving up. Basically, I guess you could say that we're giving up values, maybe. I don't know, but we got to get down to what does North Korea want from this? And I think I've just already explained that North Korea wants to be able to feel like they're big boys, that they're up on the table with everybody else in the world, that they are a nation that has power. They want to feel like they have power, and they get exactly that by meeting with Donald Trump. What do we want? We want North Korea to stop their nukes. And what would be the ultimate goal is getting North Korea to be one liberated nation for good. But that's very unlikely, and that's really, really very unlikely immediately, but something that could happen very, very, very far down the road. I think that'd be great if we had just one Korea. But who will get what they want? Another question. Probably nobody right now. It will take a long time for anybody to get what they want. We want them to stop their nuclear program. I think we need to be an assurance that they will stop it, if that makes sense. Be like, hey, we can be chill with you for a little bit, but it's basically like a relationship. You got to trust each other, okay? You got to trust each other. But North Korea is pretty dang hard to trust because like they cheated on a lot of people. So Kim, his goal is to just stay in power for his life, and if you were Kim Jong Un, how would you stay in power for life? You would develop nuclear weapons, and as Ben Shapiro says, it goes back and he goes back and forth. So it's a cycle. You develop nuclear weapons, and then you blackmail basically to get economic support, and then you're like, okay, we'll stop our nuclear weapons to get your economic support, and then once you get that support, you go back to developing more weapons, and then you just keep that circulation going. Like I said, as Ben Shapiro says. So I don't think North Korea is going to change, but I may be wrong. I'm not perfect. I may be wrong. I say that about almost everything, and I think it's good for everybody to have that kind of thought process when they talk about stuff. They may be wrong. I don't think they will change, but I may be wrong. Based off past history, I don't think they're going to change. So, a little quick talk about tariffs. So, Trump signed for the tariffs. Done. The only reason he's legally, I want to talk about the legalization of him doing this. So, really, I don't think he's legally doing this. Honestly, I think that his signing of these tariffs is unconstitutional. Guys, here's a perfect opportunity for you to prove that I'm not a huge Trump fan. I'm literally saying that I think something he's doing is unconstitutional. I do this for both sides of the party, Democrats and Republicans. Just gotta say that. So, the only reason I think that he's basically able to do this is because of an really old law that allows presidents to make this executive order if it threatens national security. But he gave a really poor I don't think, obviously, nobody thinks it has to do with national security, but I couldn't find the video but I know that I heard it once. It was a really pathetic excuse of why it has to do with national security. So the only reason, like I said, the only reason he's able to make this executive order about the tariffs is because of this old law that says that presidents are allowed to make this executive order if it has to do with national security, but almost everybody knows that this has nothing to do with national security because he's mentioned a lot of times before on Twitter that he wants fair trade. He's got to have fair trade and safe trade for America. So I don't think he really should be able to be making that executive order, and lots of jobs could be lost that rely on industries due to the tariffs that he just signed. So that's all I have to talk about today. I'll be back here next week on Monday. It's going to be my first week of spring break. Finally, almost done. And first day of spring break. And then that'll be it. If you guys want to ask me questions or comments, you can email me at theRileyReportUSA@gmail.com. Also, YouTube, if you're listening to me on YouTube and you have an iPhone, you can listen to me on Apple Podcasts. You can search me up on Apple Podcasts and find me there. People who are on Apple Podcasts, if you'd like to find me on YouTube, you can find me on YouTube. Go do that and listen. That's all I have to talk to you guys about today. I'll see you guys next week. My name is Jason Riley, and this is the Riley Report.